So when we were planning to design the report, the idea was to provide something that could help policymakers in navigating the policies for artificial intelligence from the point of view of industry and innovation. That is our core thematics. Why? Because artificial intelligence is not new, but it's growing particularly fast, it's diffusing extremely fast, and this has outpaced the capability of many governments to design policy and rather than to react, as Angel was saying, to something that is happening in the countries. So I will go first, I presented the structure of the report. The idea was to gradually zoom out from the really micro perspective. So chapter 1 is a landscaping exercise of what is artificial intelligence, the high concentration of R&D, innovation, and many companies in the world, in few countries or in few countries. So this introduced the main topic of the report, basically. And then we gradually zoom out. In chapter 2, we discuss about adoption of artificial intelligence and the impact on the workforce and some implication on this. And we present some case studies in developing countries. Then on chapter 3, we move at the national levels and we evaluate, or we propose a framework to evaluate country preparedness for artificial intelligence. We move in chapter 4 still more closely to innovation or policy for artificial intelligence. And then in chapter 5, we move at the global level and we discuss, we tackle the discussion about, we move the discussion toward governance or global governance of artificial intelligence. In this first section, I will basically present chapter 1, 3, and 4, so the landscape and the national level. And then Jackie, in the second session, will present chapter 2 and 5, workforce and global discussion. Let me start pointing to the real huge potential of artificial intelligence in the coming years. In this chart, we compare, the report has always focused on frontier technologies, and artificial intelligence is one of the frontier technologies, and the focus this year was on artificial intelligence. But the chart compare the market value or the expected market value of the frontier technologies, comparing 2023 with 2033. Okay, the chart, the overall market size will grow very fast, but the focus here is on the yellow part of the chart. Artificial intelligence was about a market value, had a market value of about 200 billions, and is expected to grow to 4.8 trillions by 2033. It means a really huge potential. Just to give an idea, is projected to be a market 4 times more valuable than the smartphone market. So there is a real big opportunities in the artificial intelligence market. But there is also a significant concentration of resources and a significant digital divide that can be replicated and amplified by artificial intelligence. Just to give you some number, only 100 companies perform 40% of the world R&D, and among these companies, there are no companies from developing countries apart from Chinese companies. There is also an important concentration when we consider supercomputer, that is basically the backbone of the digital transformation. And also when we look at patents in artificial intelligence, 2/3 of the patents are filed by companies or entities from China and the US. It means a very high concentration also in the production of technologies related to the AI. And this amount is not reflected in the contribution to the knowledge generation. If we look at the scientific publication, China and US owns only 1/3, contribute to only 1/3 of the scientific publication on AI. So we have a much higher concentration in pattern than in publication. I did some example because basically the report is organized around 2 main thematics. The first is infrastructure, data, and skill. For us, infrastructure, data, and skill are the 3 leverage points that are feeding the rise of artificial intelligence or the digital transformation. And we use these 3 leverage points as a way of framing our analysis and recommendation. We go also behind these 3 leverage points, but this is the main thematic of the report. And why we focus on this? Because the countries, you need the 3 to develop the 3 of them, because there are synergies across data, algorithms, skills, and infrastructure that can be leveraged to move on in favor of the digital transformation. The other main theme is the other idea. This is not really developed openly, but it's something that you have to keep in mind, is the fact that artificial intelligence is a general purpose technology and the implication of this. So he will lead to new methods of production. He will transform the industry and create new markets. Basically, general purpose technologies are characterized by three features: pervasiveness, meaning that they penetrate and they are used in many different industries, so they will transform other industries. Dynamicity, so there is room for improvement. So what we are experiencing now is something that is not the ending point, but is something that will further develop. And innovational complementarities, meaning it will trigger innovation also in other industries and will be fed by innovation in other industries. So this is a way to say we are observing change, but this change is still to come, and we in countries, so we have to be prepared to what is coming. I move directly to chapter 3, and as you know, the Technology Innovation Report, we always present a snapshot of country performance with respect to frontier technologies. We present our index. Normally, okay, in the report we have a ranking. This is a chart plotting GDP per capita of countries against their technology preparedness. The chart basically showed that as expected, countries with a higher GDP per capita perform better with respect to the Frontier Technology Index. But the chart also highlights something, that countries that are above the line are countries that are doing well or better than expected in terms of technology capabilities. And we see that these countries are also countries that are able to generate or able to participate and move into artificial intelligence market. What is behind this performance? This year we went looking at which are the score of countries in the different sub-indexes of the Frontier Technology Index. So this chart, basically, we compute the score of each country for the pillars: skill, ICT, R&D, industry, and finance. And then we take the average score by country group. So we compare developed, developing, and LDC countries. And the chart shows that there are huge gaps in terms of skills among all the country group. There are huge gap of, the gap is larger between LDC and all the others when we talk about, when we look at the ICT infrastructure or capabilities. And the gap is wider between developed country and all the others when we look at the R&D industry. So there are huge gap on the different dimensions. They are slightly different. But when we put this chart together to the first chapter on the left, we see that basically countries that outperform in terms of technology-related index are countries that are doing particularly well in R&D and in industry. So R&D industry is the key of good performance and potential for faster growth in the coming years. How to assess the preparedness of artificial intelligence adoption and development? In the report, we propose a framework to think about how to evaluate a country preparedness. What we identify is 2 main dimensions: capability of develop, so be an actor, an active actor in the development and directing the technological development, or capability to adopt. So being able to benefit from artificial intelligence and to use and adapt artificial intelligence within the economy. Why we look at these two dimensions? Because development capability, it can be more demanding in terms of infrastructure and data skills. You really need data center, you really need computer, high-speed networks, computer scientists at the frontiers, and huge amount of data to train model. While adoption may be, from one end, may be less demanding in terms of infrastructure data skill, but may also be demanding of a particular type of skills in the sense that, okay, while for developing you need a lot of data scientists, basically, for adoption you need also that people in the industry is able to recognize the opportunity offered by artificial intelligence. So we need digital capabilities that can be used to identify opportunity in the industry and to be used in the industry. In the chapter, we go through infrastructure and data and skill, and we present a series of charts or series of figures to help countries thinking in terms of these three elements. Here I will show only some figure about skills, because skills, there are really huge gap on skills. The figure we put on the x-axis, the share of GitHub users within the working age population. That is our proxy for the capability of develop. On the y-axis, we put the share of educated, highly educated population as a share of the total working population. That is, for us, is more a proxy of the capability to adopt artificial intelligence. Then we put we plot country statistics. In blue is our developed country, in yellow developing country, and purple developed countries. And now we see there are huge gaps, or countries are really well aligned in terms of development and skill capability in the chart. We complement this type of chart with other analysis. Here, specifically, what we are looking at are shares, so it's a measure of intensities. And if you look, we're looking after developing this chart, China, India, and other big countries are on the bottom left of the chart. That is quite unexpected as a first insight. So we complemented this analysis. We say, okay, we are used to think in terms of intensity or related comparative advantage, but what matters is also size. So because behind the small shares of large countries, if we look at the absolute number of developers, we see that they have a lot of developers in India and in China, and also in Brazil. What does it mean? That with a small share, they are still able to leverage a very huge critical mass. And this means that this kind of implication of this is that size still matters in shaping opportunities for IE development in countries. So size is a factor to take into consideration. And the third element we were looking is about the dynamic. So how countries are moving fast or their economies are moving fast in catching up in artificial intelligence. Here, this is a ranking in terms of growth rates. And we see that there are many developing countries. From one end, some of them are starting from low absolute values, but there is a huge opportunity. And Jackie will maybe connect on to this chart, because one issue with artificial intelligence or the digital economy in general, it is cross-border by definition. And behind these good performances, we should understand better what are these developers doing. Are they doing high skill or high task job, or performing low task job for other economies? This is really relevant from a country point of view, that invest resources to develop skills within the country. So basically, this is a snapshot of chapter 3. We don't go directly in looking at the country distribution or country specialization, but a corollary to this analysis would be countries have better data or specific data they can look at. we have been working on the evaluation of science, technology, innovation policies, and there are other, this analysis can be complemented with more focused analysis to understand the country potential, or in terms of sectors, in terms of industry, or another dimension to benefit for artificial intelligence. Then, when we think about artificial intelligence or the digital economy, we should also think what is different from the past. And this is a chart about the share of service export over total export. Because basically, since the 70s, two main dynamics are driving the global economy. One is the increasing importance of services in trade, and the other is the increasing diffusion of ICT technologies. ICT technology are changed the way, are permitted to organize production process in a different way, brought basically the diffusion of global value chains, and have been changing the way economy works. And so basically, I'm not showing some chart, but what we were looking is in the data is an increasing importance of innovation policies, because there is a shift in value creation and creation of innovation through our services, and there is an increasing shift of attention on technology innovation policies, both when we look at innovation policies as such, and also when we look at the content on industrial policy. We're really seeing that an increasing reference to technology also in industrial policies. Then we move a step forward and we look at what is happening with respect to artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is quite new policy. And the first country having a national strategy is Canada in 2017. Since then, developed countries have been able to catch up and to develop strategy quite fast. 2/3 of developed countries had a strategy in 2023, while developing and LDC countries have been a bit slower in being able to put in place a strategy, so an active plan to deal with artificial intelligence. I forgot to add the chart, but I wanted to comment that when we were comparing developing countries, something on innovation policies for AI, something what we were seeing is that developed countries really target business R&D, public R&D, data center, networks, so they're investing even heavily in infrastructure and connections and in R&D, while developing countries have a much higher share of policy targeting artificial intelligence in the government or for the government. That from the one end is something that is maybe needed to feed the gap that of not having an innovation ecosystem, so the need of knowing what has been done, what is needed to develop it. But from other end, should not divert resources from developing or pushing or sustaining the development of the innovation ecosystem in the country with respect to artificial intelligence. Because the issue of frontier technologies is that we don't know, or artificial intelligence, we don't know what will come, and it's difficult to anticipate policies. And this brings us of how to discuss about artificial intelligence policy in a moment where we don't know exactly what is working or what is not working. And basically 2 main points. One is policy learning is crucial, meaning that policy learning requires defining how to evaluate policy from the very beginning. Very few policies contain an evaluation from the inside. And so it's very difficult to learn from what is going on because we don't evaluate policies, and so we cannot learn from error and mistake or success for real. But also because it's a bit too early to know what work for real with respect to artificial intelligence policies, because it's a new field. What we did was presenting some case or country case along the dimension infrastructure, data and skill, and then some overarching approach from advanced economy. I comment first what is going on in US, Europe, and China. Basically, The three areas are increasing their investment in R&D. And they are back, or at least US is back in rising their investment in artificial intelligence, also from a public perspective. And this means that they are increasing the competition in terms of innovation. And they will have a spillover effect on other countries, because who can not respond increasing R&D at a fast pace, it will be at risk of lagging behind. And but on the positive side is the integration, or on the learning side is the fact that they really try to integrate the different, or to target the different value chain, or the different stages of the value chain in their policy framework. Meaning they start from chips, because chips is the backbone of the digital economy. They cover penetration in industry. They look at emerging technologies. They look at R&D. So they really have policies that are integrate different phases of production, and meaning different ministries and agencies. So they really try to develop the industry from a broad perspective, not only focusing on a specific segment of the industry. And they really try to coordinate and integrate action. Point on China. China really had a plan of being the leader in 15 years. They started in 2017, and their target was 30, 35, 50. And they had policies that was looking at different phases, how we have to move in different phases to target specific industry or specific part of the development. And lately, in the last years, they are increasingly looking at transparency, accountability, and of algorithm and of artificial intelligence. In this sense, they are moving close to Europeans on looking at what is behind artificial intelligence, and try to guarantee that it doesn't affect human values, human rights, or values that are important for countries. Two other examples are the data policy of Chile and Germany, because, for example, 2 minutes more, no? Because Germany is strong in automobile sectors, and what they do, among many other actions, is this mobility data service, data space. So basically they create a space where companies in the automotive industry can share data and monetize data. So they can exchange or monetize data, or loan data. And the idea what it is we have a strong industry, and we want to support the adoption or development of artificial intelligence, self-driving car, or other type of services. And we do this by favoring the sharing of data in the sector. Or also some company have some need and can go to this data space to find someone that can solve from a digital point of view, or developing algorithm from their car. Completely different approach, or different example from the Data Observatory of Chile, because in many developing countries, the issue is that there are not enough data, or there is not already an industry developed on data to benefit from data. And what they did is trying to creating a space for open data from the public, from satellite images, from many different sources, open to university, industries, civil societies. And the idea is to put the data at the service of the society, from one end, to develop a data culture. How can we define services or address needs if we have data to do with them? And from the other side is to try to foster the creation of an ecosystem around data, national data, that can respond to national issues. Can I add the last example? Okay, I add just the last one is the computational data analysis provision from Singapore. Singapore is quite advanced economy on many perspectives. But this is just to highlight that artificial intelligence will have profound implication on intellectual property, on data, on copyright, on a lot of different issues. And what they did was to reform the national law, because from the one end, what they did, they were creating an exception on copyright data to allow companies to use this data for to train their models. So on the one hand, they tried to favor the training or the development of the machine learning industry. Let's put this way. From the other side, to counterbalance, because there is always this balance between innovation and regulation and protection, they increased the increase in the protection, the commercial, the protection of commercial interests of copyright owners. So from the one hand, they open to allow people to train their data, and from the other hand, they reinforce the protection of the commercial interests of the owner. So they try to balance between two different interests and to support the industry. I'm done. So on this
Thank you
first part.
so much.